So we will just start because the whole session inakuwa recorded. So anyone mwenye hata tupata vile tunaanza can still watch it. So kenye imetuleta hapa, we want to talk about the men mental health because ni crisis. As much as we always sisi wote tunaongea, we are always advocating for mental well-being, but at the end of the day our men do not talk. Now the issues come out in one way or another. Kuna violence, kuna issues to do with suicide, and as much as saizi cases za suicide ni like 4 times, yeah, men ni 4 times greater than the women cases. Bado cases zingine hazikuwa reported, so you can imagine how high the number is. And per year, only in Kenya, cases of depression, anxiety are many, like 6 million. So the cases are so high, and we just want to know where can we come in and what can we do, and just share, and then tupate maarifa. We know where we can reach in the middle. So I will just start with Joseph. So vile tu nilikuwa nimesema, men openly don't express themselves, and hiyo ndio society yenye tumelelewa nayo.
Yeah.
So we just want to understand, why is it that men have a difficulty to express themselves, and what does the society that we exist in play? Ni role gani society in a play in men not expressing themselves? Joseph. Okay. Joseph bado hatusikii vizuri. So I'll just move, and then Joseph akirudi, and then we'll tackle the issue. So vile tume notice that men don't open up, and men don't talk about their mental health issues. And hata earlier, before everyone else joined, nilikuwa nasema like vile mimi hufanya therapy on a ratio to 1 to 10. Like I have like very few men who come to me wakiniuliza how to help them on certain issues or seeking therapy. Wengine wanakuja once and then wanapotea. So I'll just ask Felix, why do you think that men don't like going for therapy or don't like seeking therapy?
Thank you, Gloria. First of all, I'd like to say hi to everyone. I'm glad to be here. So there are many reasons why men don't actually like therapy. One, it's because of perception. You see, when we are brought up as a man, you always know you should stay strong. You're brought up to stay strong. You're brought up to, always have your shit together. A good example would be if you have two children, a girl and a boy, they go fetching water and they have these 10 liters jerrycan. Ukikuja kusaidia mtoto msichana atakuwa like okay, lakini ule kijana utapata anang'ang'ana na hii kibuyu 10 liters, anang'ang'ana naye, anaumia, anaenda kuanguka, but anang'ang'ana na hiyo kibuyu. That's a good example. So from that upbringing inafikanga mahali mtoto kijana ako like, however much the situation may be hard, I have to have my shit together. I have to show that I can do it. I have to show that I'm strong. So most men perceive this therapy as weakness, them just going there to, show how vulnerable they are to maybe a female therapist, or maybe a fellow man. They feel like that one, shows how weak they are. The second one is lack of awareness. Not everybody is aware that therapy really helps, because as much as we are speaking about mental health, we are just trying to penetrate the society right now. Not everybody has picked this up because we still have a lot of stigma. People are not speaking about these things. So we are, the majority of the population are not aware that therapy can actually help you get out of your tough situation. The third one is difficulty in expressing emotions. A man find it sad to just go to a therapist and now say that, you know what, I'm feeling this type of way, I'm feeling so low, I'm feeling this kind of way. I'll give an example with the physical health. Uh, let's say a man is feeling itchy in the, around their private parts. You may see them really struggling to scratch themselves. Ukimuuliza nini atakwambia na feel some type of way, but ukimwambia yeye inaweza kuwa ST yako like no zi hii kitu imekuwa ikinifanya na inapotea, you get. So it's very hard for a man just to come out and say, by the way, me naumia. This is what is happening to me. I need help. It's very hard. The next one is social stigma. Uh, at this current generation, we all know of Madare, and when the name Madare is mentioned, everybody anasikianga anafilingi like huu ni mtu amechizi. Mtu akisikia ulienda Madare, wanajua tu wewe ulichizi. So mtu kaa alipelekwa OC Madare akakuwa admitted. When they come back, not everyone will want to associate with them. People feel like huu ni msee amechizi, akitoa comment mtu anaweza mwambia sasa huyu jamaa amechizi atasema nini? Haizi tuambia kitu ya maana, you get. So it's that kind of, stigma that we have, and it's there, especially for people, for men who come out and say, by the way, me, I feel I'm depressed, I feel I'm so low, I feel like my things are not going on well. You'll find fellow men and even the ladies stigmatizing them. So they feel like, okay, let me just not speak out. Let me act like everything is okay to appear strong. Then lastly, I'll talk about gender roles. In our society, men are perceived to be the people with authority. A man should be the head of the house. A man should control everything. So, as a man, when you are low, you feel like nikiweza ambia huyu bibi yangu right now, by the way, I feel so low, I cannot do this, then bibi yangu atanichukua ni kama mi niko na umama, such things. So a man feels like, no, why would I even speak, I need to show my family that I'm strong. I need to show my kids that I am strong as their dad. So these are some of the things that, really make men to not go for therapy. I maybe allow someone else who has a different point to also share, or maybe other points. I know there are many, but those are just but a few that I summarized. Back to you, Gloria.
Okay, thank you for that. And I will just second what you said because it's true. Kuna vile sisi tumelelewa in a way that I remember tulikuwa tunaambiwa like when a man falls down or something happens anaambiwa ukilia when you grow up ukilia utakuwa mama ama utakuwa msichana. So there was a lot of stigma yenye ilikuwa placed to be vulnerable. So yeye amegrow in a way yenye they're meant to find their own path. They're meant to be the strong ones, the protective ones. Unaona? So if you bring this person and then umwambie sasa now it's your time to be in a state yenye utakuwa vulnerable, yataamua tu kukufa na ile shida yake the way they were brought up. Unaona? And that is what we are trying to just talk about and just tell the men that it is safe to talk. And Calvin, do you have anything to add? Or anyone else?
Yes, probably it's very important to talk. And this has no limit, whether you are a man or you are a woman. It's very important to talk. And the past generation, probably our parents, I don't know how they used to live well, but solution on our own on itself again. We react to problems as they come in on our own without opening up and sharing it out. And we think that the decisions we make as a result of the problem we've got are the best. And that is why there has been a rise in mental health is actually, and I guess doctors are trying to find more and more mental conditions that arise in the world on a day-to-day basis. But it all rolls down to, I have a problem. Can we talk about it? It's not being a man or a woman, but I have a problem. In this case, a man or you're a woman. And then sawa nani he has spoken about the fact that tumejiona kama wanaume, so assuming that because we are men then we can hold situations. Who said that? Yeah, it's not that you can hold situations because you're men. Of course women might be problems. There are ways on how to address the problems. So basically focus inafaa kuwa hatuwezi kaa bila makosa. We cannot live without falling into problems, but we only need to find a better means on how we can be able to address our problems. In this case, you'll be able to reduce. I think that's my point, just to add on top of what has been said here.
Tulikupoteza hapo umelipa, we can be able to reduce.
Yes. Tukijifunza namna ya kuopen up, because you spoken about suicide. Kuna watu wengi wana commit suicide. Of course, rise eventually we find them committing suicide. I've been speaking about one thing all along. Probably I'll have time to talk about it. We are living in a world of cause and effect. Cause and effect.
Kelvin, we keep on losing
mental
you.
Health conditions. These are the effects. Now. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you get me now?
Yes.
We are living in a world of cause and effect. Manake anything ambayo ina happen kuna mali ilianzia. This is very important. Lakini hakuna watu wengi hawana haja na kutafuta mali ilianzia. Wako na haja na hii problem ndio hii problem yenyewe tutaihandle aje. Hatuwezi tukaihandle pasipo kujua mali ilianzia. Yeah. So mwanzoni hapa tunasema tunaweza tukasema kuwa mwanaume ni shida. Is it it seems like hii ndio cause ya matatizo ambazo tunaongelea leo. Mimi ni mwanaume. So kama mimi ni mwanaume na maanisha kuna shida zingine you can just overlook. Hiyo that is nothing, that is nothing. Na hiyo nothing zina pile up, nothing alafu inakuwa something. So tuangalie mali zinaanzia alafu tupate solution. I think that is what I can say in this case.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. So Joseph, I hope nimeona umerudi. So
you can get
Okay. So I asked, why is it that men have a difficulty to open up, and what role does the society play?
So let me start by answering and also objecting on your remarks of men don't talk, men talk. Only form of talking is what sometimes can be heard or not heard. So I believe we can start from there. Because in a society where the Kelvin is talking about the cause and effect, where people are not concerned to talk about how some things started, but they are concerned to talk about how things are reacting or how things are moving on. History communicates a lot. History is the embodiment and connotation which we can borrow from, and we can also derive what we want today in the present and what we want tomorrow. Let's look at the men of the past. How were they? Because this one will really give us a good clear or a good image of the cause and effect of Kelvin anasema. The men of yesterday were really appreciated because of their courage. They were appreciated because of the anger they had. They were appreciated with how they could smash the enemy. But in real sense, today, somebody who is violent, and if that violence either is a form of sport, is a form of what community requires, or is a form of identity, or is a form of purpose, definitely there has to be an effect. One effect is like the people next to him, unaona, they also have to suffer in that violence. That's why unapata sometimes, not in a bad way. Let's take our military people. When they go to war, then they come back. The traumas they experience, unaona, that anger that they have. So today, if we have to start making our men talk, we have to set history right for them. And when we're setting history right, we have to understand where we've come from. Then through that understanding where we've come from, we have to start visualizing where we want to be and what can make us to be there. But if we don't do that and we remain in the book of lamentation, where we want to say our men are not able to talk, and if our men talk, they talk through violence, they, took, they talk through crime, they talk through injustice, they talk through the discrimination, then we'll remain in the lamentation book. And I believe this conversation, it's a conversation that's supposed to bring action. You also as a lady, this is a challenge on you, Gloria. I believe definitely you are there having a brother, you're having a father, or you'll be dating, or you are currently dating. Is your man talking? And if he's talking, is he only talking to tell you, hey, niaje nataka food? Niaje mbona nguo hazikuoshwa? Can we go out? You are smart, you are lovely. Because you find the social orientation of the women of today, they want men to talk on the things that they want. Unaona? It's like you always want your man to tell you, oh, you're beautiful. I love how you dress up. I love how you came into my life. But do you give them time to talk about themselves? Unaona? Do you create that conversation? Do you build that conversation? Do you make prerequisites of that conversation so that kama even, let's say you're dating Kelvin, Kelvin is able to talk about, mimi naitwanga Kelvin, juu unaona, mimi ni Charlie Brown, na unaona? Do you have that room? Ama room inakuanga tu, it's always about Gloria, and it's always about Gloria, and it's always about Gloria. So I believe it's higher time that now we can start making our men to talk. I know it's time, it will take time, but the good thing is now starting it. If we can start it small in our aspect, isibaki ati sisi tuna advocate for mental health, like you are advocating for mental health, unaona, but ikikuja nyumbani, unaona, you're not practicing it. Watu wachache wanasemanga is like you're preaching water and you're drinking wine. I believe that's all from my end for now.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. And what I've gotten from what you've said is trying to understand the cause and the effect, and we just make ni kama kwenda rectify from the history. And thank you very much for that information, because it's very important. Most of us tuna spend time on like tunatafuta what's really ni shida iko wapi, like now shida iko wapi. We don't go through to the history and try to understand what's really going on. And thank you so much for that. So my next question will go to Kelvin. So sisi wote in this society yenye tuna exist and tumelelewa differently but almost in the same way, yenye as girls we are molded in a certain way. Like sisi mostly we have like our parents telling us you need to act like this or you need to do this, and most of the time men are left to find their own way. And so I just want to ask, what do you think is the role of parenting when it comes to the well-being of an individual, and how can we induce a talking culture in our home? Because most of the time kwa nyumba zetu we didn't have that space ya kuongea to our parents, because when the parent comes home ni umemaliza chores or have you done your homework, but hakuna ile the talk of how are you doing. So how can we include or introduce that culture in our homes? Kelvin umemute.
Oh. Asante. I hope nasikika. Despite men, women, there is something I want to put across which is very important. Regardless of gender, age, health status, income, I think mental mental well-being or anyone. No one is excluded. Whether you are a boy or a girl, whether you are 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 90 or probably even 100 and something years, anyone can be affected by mental health conditions. Yes, parents have a role to play, which is very important. And this depends with culture, religion. All this determine how people relate in a family. How are you raised up? The way, which I'm so sure, it's very different. How my parents were addressing issues when they arose and how your parents are addressing issues they arise or they were, it's very different. And this sums up to, if I am life, I'm living my personal life with my kids, I really want to raise them the way I was raised. To raise a family. Kama issue ilikuwa inatokea kwa nyumba yetu and we don't talk about it, it's like if anything happens, everyone is punished for that, whether you did it or you did not do it. We are assuming that when I'm raising my kids, that is how I'm supposed to be living. When something happens to a child of mine, pasipo kuconfirm nini imefanyika, I'll just go ahead and punish. When we speak about a role of parenting on mental well-being of an individual and how to introduce the talking culture, basically in all aspects of life, something that is important is communication, right? And this concludes everything. Mahali popote hakuna communication, nothing will work out. We are human. It means we have let me say we have a kind of a body system which also has to communicate. Lazima mkono ita communicate na I'm now talking, but my hands is rightly communicating with my brain and my mouth and my eyes, and things are going rightly in order. It's like kuna karhythm kamekuwa created. Now, when we speak about mental health, if there is no communication, then nothing will work out. Then problems will start arising. So role of parents is to, kuna vitu tumejiwekea. There are things that you cannot speak to about, we can at least kuongelea na watoto wetu. In this case, if you are a parent. Na kuna vitu hata wazazi wenyewe, kuna mambo mengine unaona now the moment mtu ana realize so is to enhance on their system of communication. How do you talk to your kids? How do you talk to your husband? How do you talk to your wife? How do you talk to the ones you're staying with? How do you talk to the ones who are surrounding you from the society that you're coming from? Of course, hii iko na effect kubwa na culture, na tradition, na religion, na masomo. They all bring all these changes that we want to talk about. But the most important thing is, what is that line of communication? And at the end of the day, pia lazima tuambue kitu kimoja, tunaishi katika, we are living a life whereby we cannot fail to have problems. They are always there. They will always come. They will never stop coming. But again, the key thing here is, whenever a problem arises within a family setup, how do we react? There is a situation. How do we react? And of course, our reaction is as influence, but how do we react? So the reaction will determine whether this person will be affected positively. The way I react, what determines my reaction? If it is my culture, negative, then I should also work on it. If it is the education that is making me react negatively, I'm also supposed to work on it. So we need to make this identification. My reaction towards a problem that has arose in a family setup. Determines. nimeongea sana, but I also hope I'm speaking some sense at the same time. and something that I want to add on before probably this question comes in regards to wakati umepata shida, what kind of a person are you? Kuna what this type of people they realize that they have a problem but they don't want to talk about it. Wametambua, oh, niko na problem, the wall wazungumzie kuhusu shida ambayo uko nayo, no one wants to talk about it. Hiyo ni group 1 ya watu. So even in this setup kuna watu kama hao ameshatambua kuna shida, amejua hakika I have a problem, but just opening up your heart and your mouth and speaking about it, because you think that we don't trust people, and if at all nimesema the problem that I'm having, how will this person think about? Let me just give a story. When I was in high school, a friend of mine acquired gonorrhea. Of course, it's ni ugonjwa anyone can get, but alikuwa na issues, hakuweza ku funny but a very nice story at the same time. Sijui mkojo nilipeleka tu kwa nyuma ya nyumba ya mamake. So the mother had the son crying while urinating. So the mother came to the son, and it was shameful because your mother is seeing your nakedness, but your mother seeing your nakedness became the solution to the problem the son was having. Oh, my son, so why didn't you tell me you had this problem? Hata ungefikia hapa. So the mother had to take the role of taking care of the problem that the son was having, and eventually it was solved. Now look at this. Angeenda kuojoa hapo. Yeah. So kuna watu ambao wana realize wako na problem, ameshatambua hakika kuna problem, but they don't talk about it. Alafu kuna group 2 ya watu wako wameshagundua wako na shida. They have also realized hii group 2 kuna wenye wametambua na kuna wenye hawajatambua, lakini kuna wenye wametambua but they don't care. I have a problem, yes, but I don't care how you think about the problem. I also not be able to talk. Hawezi pia wakaizungumzia. Na at the same level pia kuna group watu ambao hakika hawajagundua shida yenye wako nayo. Huyu mtu anahitaji kuelimishwa kwanza kabisa, hagundue kwamba ako na shida. Which is another hectic job. Hagundue ako na shida alafu mtoe kwa hiyo shida. So all this when we talk about to solve this problem, but the problem is wakati naambia mtu, kwa mfano huyu mtu ambaye hajui kwamba ako na shida, when you pinpoint the problem ambayo ako nayo, anakasirika, anaona kama they have acknowledged they have a problem and they are very much willing to go through the process of solving the problem. Now in a family setup, as when you speak about the roles of parents, you should be able to understand the ones that you're staying to people who they haven't realized that they have a problem, or are they people who have realized that they have a problem and they're not willing to talk about it, or are they people who they have acknowledged their problem, one, and they are willing to go through the process of solving the problem? It's simple. When I am sick, when I'm physically sick, it means I have detect problem kwa mwili yangu. What step do I take? What step do I take? I go to the doctor. Haimaanishi kwamba niko sure niko na ugonjwa, nimegundua, I feel like I have a problem. Then unaenda kwa practitioner, ule ambaye akona, let me use the word wisdom, akona hekima ya kutambua kika ni problem gani uko nayo. And then from then onwards, anakupeleka hadi wakati ambapo hiyo shida ambayo uko nayo itasuluhishwa. Now mental health should be same way. The moment you sense danger, we need to find channels and ways on how we can be able to address them until we come to a perfect solution. I guess that is all I can say on roles of parents, on mental well-being of individuals, and how to introduce the talking card.
Thank you, Kelvin. You ilikuwa a lot of wisdom. So we need to, without communication, hatuwezi pata results. So we need to talk, we need to address. And at times when I talk about parenting and mental health, kuna easy situations zenye when mtu ako na issue, and at times, example, mtu ametoka shule and then they are stressed, or maybe too easy, because growing up kuna hizo challenges zenye tunapata kwa different stages of our lives. So unapata mtu amekuja and then your parent anakuja na kuambia ati in our days this thing was not an issue. Hii kitu ungekuwa usha manage, or in our days this thing was a very small thing. And at times it even happens in schools, ile yenye una fail and then mwalimu anakwambia in our days. So there's at times in parenting there's a lot of comparison, na vile tu Kelvin alisema, at times when you have your kid you want to raise your kid the way you were raised. So we also need to go back as parents wenye si parents, and also when you are talking parents, we need to go back and tuende tu kwa history, and then we know, because anything that was never done to a child sometimes inarudi na affect the society. So if there are a lot of issues that were not dealt with, that the parents did not deal with, at times inakuwa projected to the child, and then the child and I project hivyo for the next generations. So if we can manage to realize that we, or our parents also, they have unresolved issues, and we can manage to differentiate hizo issues zenye wali undergo, or the things that they did not get. And when we parent, tuna manage kujua that even if my parent alifanya hivi, then yeye pia alikuwa na go through a certain thing. So it's not like we just learn to differentiate the good and the bad, and we try understanding some things from the history and just work better and parent in a way yenye tuna encourage communication, and tunaweza identify the causes of issues, and we are able to handle issues, and also tuna try kuangalia our reactions towards issues, at least to allow for a platform yenye watu wanaweza kuja, kids can come, and then we talk, and then we build a mentally better nation. So
Gloria, can I cut you short just for like a minute and a half or so?
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. We can as well be able to blame our parents, but again we can be able to appreciate them. Maisha ambayo tunaishi saa hii na maisha ambao walikuwa wanaishi, this we need to understand the difference. Okay. Probably your parent or your father or your mother or your grandfather walked 10 kilometers to go to school. An example, okay? Na wewe unachukuliwa na gari kwa mlango na unarudishwa na the same gari kwa mlango. Okay? Na mzazi wako kama alikuwa anatoka shule, anakuja, anaenda mtoni, anateka maji, anakuja, anapika lunch, anarudi shule. Okay? Wewe unapewa lunch box, ukirudi unapata kuna mfanyikazi ameshapika chakula, unakula, unaulizwa kama kuna ka homework, unasaidiwa kufanya hapo haraka haraka, umeshika remote, umekaa unaona TV. There is a program you're following up after. There is a very big difference between these two kinds of people. One, the other parent, I mean, our parents then, the situation made them to become resilient. They were hardened, so they became tough. The environment then made them to become resilient. Our environment now also plays a major effect on how our mental well-being is. In simple words, our environment has also made us to become weak-minded people, whereby a small issue, a very small issue, the way they were brought up and the way we are brought up, they also need to understand the difference between the two. Then there were no phones. If at all, when I was in high school, you used to write letters. If at all you had to speak to a lady. Nowadays, it's just a phone call away. And there are so many other channels. Yeah, and there are people who never even had the chance for the letters. So they had other means. So there's a difference between the life they lived and the life we are living. So in this case, if we speak about parenting in families, if that difference is clearly understood, then we can be able to raise this other generation to the point that also they're able to learn how to express themselves. So the difference in the generation also affects the kind of mind or our mental well-being. Back to you, Gloria.
Thank you for that input. And mimi pia naweza sema like in understanding the differences in the generation, pia tunafaa promote like self realizations among ourselves. We can't go back to being parented sisi wenyewe. It already happened. Most of us, we are in our houses. So we can just come to terms with who we are. You be true to yourself. You recognize the strengths, the weaknesses, the unresolved issues that you have, and you work on yourself. So I will quickly go to Kelvin. No, to Felix. So we have, most of the time unapata mtu akiwa na stress and then they complain about headaches and stomachache, and there are a lot of things that manifest. So I just want him to help us understand the connection between the mental health well-being of a person and the physical well-being of a person.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. So one, I think we all know that the brain control all the activities of the body. There is no activity in our body that is not controlled by the brain. So, and we know that brain has different parts that control the different activities. There's a part of the brain that control our emotions. There's a part of the brain that control our physical movement, and each part of the brain has its own role. So when the brain is affected, it means our physical health will definitely be affected. A good example will be the limbic system. We have a part of the brain called the limbic system. It's the part of the brain that is responsible for our behavioral responses. So you realize that when someone is depressed, there's a certain way their behavior changes. This means that that part of the brain that control emotions, and physical reactions is affected. Number two, you realize that people with mental health conditions are predisposed to these chronic ailments. Someone who has let's say anxiety or depression, they are at a higher risk of developing chronic ailments like high blood pressure, diabetes. And the same way these people with mental health issues, they're predisposed, is the same way those with these conditions are also at a high risk of getting mental health issues. Let's say, for instance, you have high blood pressure. You realize that most of the time you'll be worried, you'll be having a lot of stress on adhering to your medication. Sometimes you get overwhelmed physically. You get a lot of challenges in, stabilizing your your blood pressure levels. So at this point, you realize mental health has come in because there's a lot of stress, and this stress, if not controlled, will lead to anxiety and maybe depression at some point. So the balance here is that the two are basically connected. One depends on the other, and one is mental health is affected, health will also be affected, and vice versa. So we should ensure parity of esteem between these two, such that the same way if you feel some migraine, you rush to buy some painkillers or you go to the hospital, is the same way when you feel mentally unwell, you should you should seek for help. You should find someone to talk to. These days, we even have some tools online that you can use to assess yourself. We have some very, very very important self-assessment tool that you can just go online, fill those questions. Then at the end of it all, they're able to give you results. So you're able to know whether you are, mentally well or mentally unwell, or you are stable. So that's all I can say about the connection between these two. They are very, very related. Maybe if someone has something to add.
Thank you, Felix, for that. And how I understand it is that one depends on the other. And most of the time, the mental well-being of the person manifests physically. Like when someone is okay, utamona like they're bright and they're smiley, but when they're stressed, there's a certain inaweza kuja physically just to tell this person that there's this part of their life that needs attention. So thank you. And I will just move to Kelvin. And we have we have cases of domestic violence happening in our homes, and sometimes they cause the men harboring emotions. And I also, there's this discussion that was going on that tunaendelea ku empower the women, yet we're leaving the men behind. So I don't know how true that is. So when we get into a home situation where the woman is empowered, but the man in this relationship is harboring emotions, so at times violence occur. And so we just want to understand, how can we decrease this gap when it comes to relationships, when it comes to marriages, when it comes to just the men that we have? Because tukiangalia hata in a home situation, we are empowering the men, the women, I mean. And what about our brothers? So I just want Kelvin to explain to us, how best can we decrease this gap for the sake of wellness of every party involved.
Just like I said from the beginning, when you speak about domestic violence in homes, all you have to think about is, as I said, we are living in a world of cause and effect. What is the cause of all these things? And one major cause that I will not stop speaking about is that angle of no communication, or our system of communication has issues. Yeah. Right now we are having a conversation, and there are a number of people who are in this conversation. But when I am right here and I do not have, some of us are using data, some of us are using Wi-Fi. If there is no point of connection, then it means whatsoever I am saying will not come to the other party. And in this case, there might be misunderstanding because there is no communication. In other words, that line of communication is not accurate. So all we need to focus on is I have a problem as an individual. There is no one who is inferior, and there is no one who is superior. Once you find yourself in a problem, you are in a problem. And every problem needs to find a clear way on how they can be addressed, which is very important. Yeah. And some of us tend to, when someone reveals the fact that you have a problem, it's like you have been offended. And in that case, you want to react. So the reaction, it comes as a sign of you are not accepting the fact that you have a problem, so you are reacting. But if at all you had accepted the fact that you have a problem, then who will beat a doctor when the doctor says that you are sick? Yeah, you've gone to the doctor and then you've been tested, and then imepatikana kwamba kuna ugonjwa. Sijaona, of course kunaweza kuwa na wagonjwa ambao wamepiga madaktari. Of course hao wenye wako na mental health wanapelekwa kwa hizo most of them probably you hear they're beating doctors. But mtu tu amepatikana ako na malaria, sijawahi sikia mtu amepiga daktari sababu ameambiwa kuna malaria. In other words, atauliza daktari, sasa nitafanyaje? Inamaanisha anataka solution ya hiyo problem ako nayo. So watu wengi ambao wanapatikana kwa domestic violence ni watu ambao katika kategori gani? Their category is, wamegundua one kwamba wako na problem na wataki kuzungumzia. Wako na problem. Yeye mwenyewe ameshagundua hapa kweli nina problem, lakini hataki kuzungumzia. Inamaanisha kama mtu wa nje amerealize huyu jamaa ako na problem na anajaribu kumhanda sababu hiyo problem, kwamba wako na problem, so hawajali pia. Inamaanisha ikiwa kuna mtu ata-identify huyu mtu pia ako na problem na akamwelezea na huyu mtu mwenyewe haja realize, also this brings an issue. So we all need to roll to this particular level ya kwamba you need to you have known that you have a problem. So the moment you realize that you have a problem and you're in need of solving the problem, there is, I don't think anyone will reach to the level of the domestic violence that you're speaking about. If parents can speak to their kids and their kids can realize, surely niko na shida. Venye father ameisema, even though amesema kwa njia ambayo hainipendezi sana, lakini amesema, the moment tumetambua kwa blame, venye nimeambiwa haikufaa niwaambiwe hivyo. So also this becomes an issue. You have a problem and then there is also a way you want your problem to be addressed. Hey bro, hii ndio shida yako. Hiyo tone umetumia kwa in that case you are reacting. You are reacting in two ways, not because of the tone that has problem. When we realize that we have problem in our society and problems that needs to be solved, no one can reach to the level of domestic violence. We'll be able to coexist peacefully, and we'll learn better ways and better methods of coming to a solution to all these problems. Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you very much, Kelvin, for that. And I really appreciate it. And everything in a point back to going back. We really need to understand the root cause. We really need to understand where everything is coming from. Na sisi wenyewe tunafaa tujijue, tunafaa tujielewe, and we need to handle our unresolved issues. We learn that we took on a problem and we deal with the problem. So I will go back to Yusuf. And if anyone has a question, unaweza text so that we can answer it. So I will go to Yusuf. So tumehandle why men avoid going to therapy and what society plays, the role that the society plays in the case of mental health of men. So we just want to understand that at the end of the day, tunataka hii issue itoke. At the end of the day, we want this person or this individual kukua in a better state. So what are other alternatives that people can do, people can engage in, or men do? Now we're talking about men, the alternatives that they can do or engage in to speaking out. What else can they do to just let out?
Thank you so much, Gloria, for that question. And I believe we are what we eat. And when I say what we eat, it means that what we eat from our eyes, that's what the optical, what the comes into the optical, or the optical is able to grasp, what gets into the ear, what gets into the nose, and definitely what also gets to the mouth. Because there's no way I'm watching violence movies. Unaona, mimi napenda tu action hizo maspata hizo masword. Then when I get back in my space, I'll be somebody who is of decorum, somebody who is peaceful. Unaona, definitely what comes into my optical definitely will induct to me to another character. And remember, it starts with an habit and it ends with a character. We can stop it at habit, but we can have a lot of challenges to eliminate it as a character. So basically, I believe with our men that exist outside there, me being one of them, and also the men here, advocates that exist here, I believe we have to start accepting
the reality of life. And reality of life first is the humanistic aspect. What differentiates me and an animal, unaona, is the humanity aspect. And humanity is kindness, humanity is love, humanity is honesty, humanity is dignity, humanity is integrity, and humanity is love. So basically, if you can have that the chronological aspect of humanity, then most men will be of modest, most men will be of sanity, most men will be of value. Because today unasikia is like msee amesoma, msee ako na pesa, msee ako na position, but isi binadamu yani na unasikia wakitusi some men is like huyu tu ni dogi tu, unaona. Basically, how does a dog behave? A dog cannot recall, a dog cannot acknowledge, a dog cannot appreciate, a dog will always want to satisfy the appetite, unaona. So I believe our men can do a lot when we start accepting that we need to be humans and add that humanistic aspect. This will also will rely on now issues like now the spiritual aspect, because the spiritual aspect of the spiritual realm contributes a lot in a personal development. We have different religions, but at least almost all religions they embrace love, they appreciate love, and love is a commandment. So how are we going also to be a spiritual being? Unaona? Spiritual being doesn't mean that lazima uokoke ubiri Yesu ndio sasa wewe ndio spiritual being. Spiritual being means that you recognize that devotion that there's the supreme being, and the supreme being appreciate human nature and humankind and the creation of God. Definitely, if you have that orientation, then you'll always be contributing rightfully. So I believe moving forward, our men will be better men if we support them. Our men will be better men if they also accept support. Because sometimes unapata is like your lady, your community, your family, or your friends are willing to support you, but you don't want to accept the support. You think you are the best. You think you can make it. You think you're always there, and you are meant for yourself, and it's always yourself. But nobody can survive without somebody's support. Nobody can survive alone. No, nobody was meant to be on his own. So I believe also men need to seek help. If it's spiritual, if it's economical, if it's social, if it's counseling, if it's therapy, men need to seek help. Then our society did a mistake of making men to feel like they are kings. No. So if they are kings, no, there are some challenges that if they face, they're the ones to create solution. No. There are challenges if you face, look for solution from others, whether from other men or from other gender, like either lady or your mom or your friend. Then communication is a key thing. Why do I say so? When a baby is born, a baby communicates on a verbal aspect. Kama anasikia njaa analia, kama anasikia joto analia. But sasa wewe umekuwa mwanaume, wewe ni ndume, unaona, huwezi fanya non-verbal in a place that you need to talk. If kama mtu anakosea ama kama kuna situation na kuface, wewe ongea, sema hiyo situation, unaona, usingangane na non-verbal kama mtu hii wa 5 months, unaona, yet you are an adult with 32 tips. That's all for my end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Yusuf, for that. Na as much as tunasema, as much as umetupea like alternatives for men to speaking out, when umesema communication, men should seek help. I also say that sisi wengine, other men or women, sisi wengine pia, we also need to provide like your platform. Yeah, receive, like to talk to people, like to create a safe space yenye inaweza fanya like the men come and talk to us. We need to stop being judgmental, or we listen, we create a safe space to ensure that as much as we are encouraging them to seek help, as much as we're encouraging them to speak, sisi wenyewe pia tuna offer that condition for them to come and speak to us, or for anyone else to come and speak for us. So there is a question, and the question is, what happens to men who cannot speak out? And I think I think Joseph has answered that question partly. And there's also this question that I will ask because we're finishing up. So I'll just ask every person that has spoken, and then it will answer the question that has just been asked. So, what is the first step or first steps to speaking out? What is the first step or first steps when speaking out? So I'll just start with Joseph. Joseph, are you with us? Okay, as we wait for Joseph, we'll just go to Kelvin. So, what is the first step, Kelvin, or the first steps when it comes to speaking out? So, tunataka encourage the culture of speaking, the talking culture, the culture of seeking help. So, how can you advise?
You can't talk until you realize and then you acknowledge. So the first step of talking or opening up is to acknowledge that you have a problem. And you cannot acknowledge that you have a problem until you realize that I have a problem. So once you go through these two steps, it is easy to move to the other steps. And we are so much ashamed of ourselves. That is why we are not able to talk out. We are so much embarrassed of ourselves, and we are dying silently. Our silent death is coming as a result of not being able to either you've realized but you've not acknowledged. So having a problem actually is not a problem, as we might think of. People think that having a problem is a problem, but it is not a problem. Not being able to talk about the problem and coming to the solution of the problem, then that becomes the problem. So all we have to do is we simply have to learn how to acknowledge, oh yeah, I have this problem. I am in debt. I do not have a better communication way with my siblings, with my parents. We can speak of any sort of problem. But the moment you acknowledge, that becomes the very moment of having the solution to the problem that we are all having.
Okay. So we acknowledge that we have a problem. You did the first step to speaking out. So I'll just go to Felix and need the same question. So what is the first step to speaking out? And what do you think men or anyone else mwenye ako
Okay.
hapa?
Okay, this is actually the most interesting question in all the questions you've asked, according to me. Now, speaking out, I'll classify it into two. One, there's from the point of the victim. Then two, there's from the point of someone who is willing to help. You know, you may have realized your friend is having an issue, then you want to come in and assist. Now, let me start with the victim. First, the first and important step for the victim is, just like my colleagues have said, my fellows have said, acknowledging the problem. On the same point is acceptance. The reason why even men who decide to go for therapy don't, get help from this therapy is because they have not gotten to the level of acceptance. They still live in denial. You are depressed. You have opened up, you want to go for help, but you've not accepted that you can be depressed. You're like, no, no, this is not me. Or you just keep telling yourself, this is not depression. Maybe this is just some other condition. It's not depression. So the moment you still live in denial, you have not accepted yourself, you have not accepted the condition, such a point therapy cannot help you because you'll keep going round and round and round. Take even a year plus in therapy, you won't get assisted. Number two is the point now for the person who wants to help, the person who wants to intervene. Now, this is where we have a problem. The current times, we have a lot of people calling themselves mental health advocates, which is very good. But the problem comes in when now you meet a person who is going through a problem. Now they approach you. I see you doing a lot of advocacy work online. Now I want you to help me. The way these people handle the victims is what causes more harm. You realize you don't, for therapy or for appropriate help, we need someone who is qualified. For example, Gloria, you are a counseling psychologist. There are some things you learned in school. There are certain steps, the steps that you need to follow with someone who is going through therapy. But someone who has not, gone through this training is not able to know that. A good example would be, I come to you, I tell you I have a problem, such a thing happened to me. Then you come in, now start telling me your problem. You interrupt me, tell me, by the way, hata mimi unajua niliachwa. We at least yako ilikuwa, mi by the way udem alinifanyia hivi hivi. The person has started opening up, we ushakuja na yako, instead of just listening, giving this person a listening here. Because some people just need someone to listen to them. That's all. Tell them, guy, I feel you, I empathize with you. I know this that was not right, I'm sorry. That's all for them. But wewe ushaanza kuambiwa hivyo, wewe unakuja, by the way, hata mimi ilikuwa hivi na hivi. You are not helping this person. So I feel as mental health advocates, people who are doing things on mental health, if you know you don't have that expertise of helping a person, if you want to make them talk, if you want to make them speak about their issue, if you want to make them confide in you every time they have a problem, then you need to know the appropriate steps to follow. Now, number one, I'll just mention a few. Number one, ensure you set a time aside with no distractions. Usichukue huyu mtu mnaenda kwa club, ati baada hebu sasa niambie hiyo shida yako. You are in a club, ngoma inalia hapo, kuna lot of distractions. Unataka huyu mtu akwambie problem yako kwa club. It will not happen. You will not be helping this person. Number two, let them share as little as they want to do. Most people, when someone starts talking to them about a given story, mtu anafika mahali ana feel emotional, ana feel like, I can't continue. Then for them, they feel like this story is so interesting, wanataka kuisikiza, watu wako like, we niambie bana, usilie, niambie tuendelee tu, In that case, you're not helping this person. Just allow these people to talk to the point they want to. If they get to a point, they tell you, I can't do this anymore, tell them it's okay, we can continue another time. That's why therapy kuna sessions. That's why therapy haikuangi siku moja. If someone gets to a point they can't speak anymore, they're emotional, give them time, waambie wa calm down, you continue next time. Number three, don't try to diagnose or second guess their feelings. Hii ni problem sana. Unapata mtu amekuja ameanza kuongelesha, naambia by the way uko depressed. Kwanza the word depression is being misused sana. Someone is just stressed over a little problem, then mtu ako like, by the way uko depressed, by the way uko na anxiety, ama wewe naona umechizi. Such things are not cool. I feel if you don't have the expertise, just listen to this person. If you can't sort that out, just escalate. Do referrals. That's why we have these mental health experts. We have hospitals, we have private practitioners doing the same. If you feel umesikia hii problem and it's something you can't handle, just escalate or refer to the appropriate people. Number four is keep questions open-ended. Don't limit someone. I believe all of you understand what open-ended questions are. Usiweke mtu to a point lazima akujibu. Let me say a good example would be a yes no answer. Ulivuta bangi? Yes or no? Niambie yes or no. No, you insist that that's a closed question. Just ask open-ended questions and mtu ako allowed to explain themselves, to talk as much as possible, because this will help you get as more details as possible, get the root of the problem and assist them appropriately. Then number five is talk about self-care, which is very important. After listening to these people, even if you can't solve the problem, even if you need to do a referral, just talk about self-care, because after all, that's where we should all start, from self-care. Just mention a few things about self-care. You can maybe share with them how you care for yourself, a few tips on how they can take care of themselves. This will include maybe spiritual wellness, physical wellness, wafanye some exercise, or go for some nature walks, just to ensure they're good. or listen to their favorite music wakifeel low hiyo time, or listening to music. Just several tips on self-care will go a long way in helping these people as you find someone to refer them to. Then lastly, listen carefully to what they have to tell you. Listen more than you speak. When you find a person with a problem, someone has decided to confide in you, ensure you listen more than you speak. Most the problem with most of us is we tend now to speak a lot. Mtu ameanza tu kuongelesha hivi, the moment you take akupee hiyo chance uongee, wewe ndio unakaa mtu alikuwa na shida, you start rapping, then these people get confused like, now what's going on here? So I feel most of us who are working on mental health, let us take this into consideration. If you want people to speak out, especially men, if you find a man who has just gathered all that courage, open up to you, handle them with care. If you know you are not a professional, there is no weakness in in referring. There's no weakness in escalating. I think I'll stop to that point, Gloria. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Felix, for that. And what I can say also is that this issue of mental illness affects all of us. To affect daily, to affect directly, indirectly. It doesn't matter if umeona ni if wewe mwenyewe ujai notice. We also go through stress kila siku, and we just need to take care of ourselves. You need to pay attention to yourself. You need to listen to your body, because vile Felix ali explain, the body and the mind are connected. Na Kelvin husema moja ni blueprint, mind. Anyway, they are connected, and you need to listen to yourself. You need to listen to your body. And I just want to appreciate all of you wenye mmekuja. Thank you for taking your time to be part of us. Thank you for taking your time to get into this conversation, because all Kenya tunataka kufanya ni to like talk to people, just advocate for mental health. Because hapa penye tuko, we have mind specialists, we have mental health advocates, tuko na fitness instructor, and all of us, we just want to ensure that as we move forward, tunaingia into a generation where this issue tunaongelelea and we find ways to solve it, we find ways to cope, and at the end of the day, sisi wote tunakuwa healthy. So I'll just say thank you, and we are done.
Gloria,
Tumeenda past time. Yeah.
I think maybe you should give the audience pia, maybe kuna mtu akona a comment before you close, because they've
Okay.
been listening all this while. I know some people wakona something to add on, maybe some comments. It's better to give them a chance before you close. Thank you.
Okay. So, thank you. Thank you for that. So if anyone has a question, please, you can text, you can say. I'll just mute my microphone to say like a minute. If no one has anything to say, then we'll just leave on your own pleasure.
Hi,
Thank you
hi,
so
Gloria.
much. Hi.
You well?
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah. Nicholas.
Mhm.
Nicholas here.
Nakujua ni.
Nicholas is a lot of things. So this is a great initiative. Finally, as young people, we are here, and nilikuwa napitia tu status, and then I saw a link and decided to join. And great work, whatever we are doing here. It's really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, so of course, it's also coming in handy when mental health, especially among AYPs, that's the adolescents and youths. It's really it's becoming a concern. So I think this conversation is quite timely, and boy child pia tumeachwa nje for long. Kama tuwezi kumbukwa huko kwa mapads, I think mental health among men it's a nice way to to kukumbuka boy child, because we go through a lot. So I think this is quite nice. Thank you, Felix. By the time I was just joining, I found you giving your sentiments, and that's a wonderful that was a wonderful, let me say, session. And it's also quite timely, and especially for some of us who work with young people, and we also advocate for mental health, among other things. So for what I do is I am a programmer. I work with the LVCT Health still. We do programs on or programs targeting adolescents and young people 10 to 24 years. And the areas we focus on are HIV, GBV, SRH, and mental health. So hapo kwa mental health, what we offer sisi kama sisi ni we have a toll-free hotline 1190, where you can just call, and hukatwi credo, so you just call and you talk to a counselor, and mnaongea tu vitu zenu hapo, and it's always anonymous, and it's information on anything relating to the four topics. So sometimes we want to refer our peers to to facilities and to specialists who sometimes really charge quite expensively. The last time I sought counseling, nilipewa quotation ya 2K per session, and that is really expensive for a young person out there who might not have a source of income. So we could also leverage on we have resources. We could leverage on hizi vitu zinalipiwa na donor. So this is a nice initiative, Gloria, especially now as an organization. We are also we are starting a project on mental health. It's called Reach. Reach will be implemented in Reach Mental Health. That's Reach MH. Reach will be implemented in Kisumu, Nairobi, and Mombasa, and that is I think this is an opportunity for us to step up our to amplify the young people's voice, especially on mental health. So great work, Gloria. Great work, team. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you for so much thank you, Nick. And nikiangalia huku naona like someone just asked, most of the time we talk about stress, it's always negative. Is there positive stress? If so, how do we deal with it? And Elsie, thank you so much for answering. And I just have to ask Felix, do you have any input in regards to negative and positive stress?
Thank you, Gloria. Yes, we have two types of stress. We have a positive stress, which is usually called eustress, and we have negative stress that is called distress. So positive stress is stress that motivates you to do something positive. A good example would be when you're having exams. Let's say you're having exams tomorrow. Definitely, you're always stressed because you're wondering, hey, ni maswali gani zitakuja? Hiyo exam itasetiwa aje? This always motivate you to read more. You realize sasa itakubidi usome topics zote, hautaacha zingine nje. It is the stress that will motivate you to do that. Another thing, maybe you've gotten a job promotion, or let's say you promoted to now general manager. Of course, you're expecting roles to increase, you're expecting a lot of things, you're expecting a lot of responsibilities. This will always motivate you to work harder, to have that mindset of preparedness, such that ukiingia kwa hiyo role, you are going to deliver as you are expected to do. So positive stress basically ni ile inakumotivate ufanye kitu positive. Now the the distress now, which is the negative stress, ni ile sasa most of us wanaongeleanga juu unapata umeachwa na msichana, then sasa we hapo kijana umeanza kulewa, umeanza kuhate madem, you start doing a lot of things. Some of us stop eating, some of us contemplate suicide, such thing. That is now the negative stress. So basically that's the difference. I believe I've answered that question. So the eustress is just the medical term for positive stress, then distress is the medical term for negative stress. I don't know if I've answered you. Maybe you can just comment if you've understood that difference. Thank
Okay,
you, Gloria.
thank you. So the eustress, it's the daily stress. Ile yenye you find relief after completing a task or after ile yenye you late, they happen, something that pushes you. And distress mostly occur when thou something that you una perceive ni something ni kitu kubwa, and then it's ina require wewe kurudi nyuma, and then you take time to handle it. So your body tells you, now you need to like drop everything and handle it. And thank you so much for handling that. So I just want to say I am truly grateful. That is, if anyone else doesn't have a question. And I also work with a very big team of counselors, and our counselors work all over the country. So it doesn't matter where you are. Hata kama unahitaji one-on-one counseling, you can just go to the social media page, and then there's a number there, and then you just click, and then uko directed to wherever you are, because not everyone anapenda online counseling. So we're always here to listen, we are always here to talk. The moment you may text, tutaangalia who exactly, we'll just match you, because not everyone, watu wengine wanakuja counseling na preferences. You want someone who is religious or someone, so we just match you to counselor mwenye you prefer, whether anaenda kuhandle issues to do with drugs, relationships, issues to do with family, couple therapy. So you just text us, or you just DM kwa hizo pages zenye ziko online, and then you'll be directed. So we mainly deal with mental health. So as much as, and most of the time we also deal with the kids wenye wako in conflict or in contact with the law, and still it's mental health. We work with watu wenye wako kwa communities, still it's mental health. We do group therapies, and I'd really like, or I'd really love people to join into the sessions. And therapy si ya mtu mgonjwa. It doesn't mean that you really have to be uko na stress kabisa or you're depressed for you to seek therapy. And vile Nick amesema, there's also a toll-free line, and you can always text them. So you don't really need to be in that state where you feel like nothing is moving the way we went to therapy. Therapy, it's very important. Ni kama check-up. So thank you so much. And if there's nothing else, you're free to leave. Have a good night.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.